by the way. Yay. And the wedding, which I'll show you in just a little bit, was actually impromptu because we wanted something very simple. I mean, really simple, which turned out to be truly profound, actually. As we kept going for simplicity, we got profundity. It was kind of amazing. We said that we just wanted something simple. We wanted a priest to bless us and everything. And we got there, and we arrived in Ubud at Denpasar, actually, which is a city where the big airport is. Open air airport. Open air airport. There's no sides. There's no walls to it. Just because the temperature is 75 degrees at night and 80 to 89 during the day. So it's open air. So we land there and we're looking around and there's drivers all holding up paper, in all different languages. And we don't see Bowen, we don't see Radiantly Alive, which is the people who brought us in. We don't see anything. And I'm literally going up to everyone, and we have been on the plane for 23 hours. Airtime, 23 hours. The trip was 30 hours. So we were a little on the tired side. And so I'm going around and I'm looking at all these drivers and I'm looking, and finally I'm shouting my name going around. And then Marti goes around and does the same thing. And then there is a loudspeaker. So Marti gets them to announce it on the loudspeaker. So they announce Bowen, Radiantly Alive. By now it's probably 2:30 in the morning. And so we just say we got to get a taxi. Well, now, of course, everybody's a taxi. Literally, everybody with a scooter. They sitting there, and as you walk by, they go, taxi? And you look at them, and they point to the back of their scooter. And that's what they mean. And they mean they'll take me and Marti, because we saw 5 people on one scooter at one point. So I'm asking the guy at the office, I said, is it okay to ride with these people? And he goes, I would go to the taxi stand. So we went to the taxi stand, and all we had was the address of the studio that had hired me to come there, not the resort where the whole thing was going on. So we didn't know where to go, and it took us 20 minutes to wake up the security guard. Does that tell you what Bali's like? This is the guy who's supposed to be guarding the studio, and we're beating on the door going, come open the door. And finally we wake this guy up. Are we getting close back there, Jessica? Huh? Okay, that's all right. Cool, that's fine. Anyway, so we're beating on the door, and now it's about 4 in the morning, and we're pretty tired. And so, we're not using our phones and all this, and so I said, let's just find a hotel, right? There's Circle K's everywhere, so there's got to be a Hampton Inn, I'm thinking. What there are is these various different resorts of various prices is what they are. And we go to the first one, and it's like I said, now about 4 in the morning, and we go in, and the front desk clerk is asleep on the couch in the lobby. And he says, pushes up his hat, and he goes, no rooms. And I'm thinking, you just don't want to get up off the couch, is what it is. So we go to the next place, and sure enough, the front desk clerk is asleep on the couch, along with the bellman and the head of housekeeping. They're all asleep on the same couch like this. But they let us in, and it turned out to be a really, really beautiful resort. But the interesting thing was, I emailed them, and our hosts, and said, this is where we are. And they're like, which one of those? It turns out there's several of this particular brand. And I told them, and they came over the next morning, and they were expecting somebody to just chew them up. I mean, here I am, I'm the keynote, I'm the big surprise speaker. My book is required reading for every one of the students. They don't know I'm coming, it's a big surprise. They see me as this big celebrity, which is really funny because I spent all this time signing autographs, and I just went through here just now, and again, the kids call me Marti. And I asked if any of them knew my real name, and not a single one. So here they come up, and they're expecting somebody justifiably to be very, very angry. And I just was glad to see the guy. His name was James Mattingly. He's from New Zealand. And I got up and gave him a big hug, and it just worked out great. And so they were all looking to see if I complained. That's what everybody was looking for. And it was like almost orchestrated. I think it was almost like a test to see if I would complain. So, if we're not getting close, I'm just going to start talking. And it looks like we're kind of where we were. How we doing? As if I'm not already talking. I hope that you gained something from that. No, actually, they took us to the other resort, which was really beautiful, and we had our own. Everybody there. When Daniel asked me to promote this, I was like, man, $8,500. That's how much it cost. But it's 30 days, and every suite, which is beautiful, has its own private swimming pool. 30 feet by 10 feet with its own little cabana. I mean, we would do yoga, 3 to 6 hours in the morning, and then we'd come back and just, put on our bathing suits, and we'd fall asleep on the cabana in the afternoon. And a lot of people got to do that. And then we ate the raw vegan food, which gave me what's called Bali belly. And Marty prescribed that I needed bread, and she was right. That was the one thing and peanut butter that really got it. So. What I want to share with you about, and I'll just, because the slides, if they come up good and if they don't, doesn't look like they're going to, right? Then let's give it up and let me just tell you, because hopefully I know what I'm talking about. I want to tell you about, and y'all can just stop, that'd be great, thank you. I want to tell you about our wedding and how it came about, and why to me it was really cool and important and significant, and why it's continuing on in our lives. Because I've done a lot of weddings, I've married a lot of people, and most weddings that you do are 20 minutes. That's it. Ours was 90. That was after having a 90-minute cleansing before that. I'll tell you all about it. But when I do weddings, one of the things I always say is, today it's easy to get married. It's easy to get married standing here in front of all of your friends, but then your friends are going to go away. Can you be married tomorrow and a week from Tuesday? And when they don't look so good, don't smell so good, don't act so good, which we all do, can you? And so we wanted a wedding that really sort of lasted with us. But it wasn't that I was being cheap. It's just we wanted something simple, and everybody I talked to, every resort said, sure, you can stand on our beach for $1,900. This is in a city where I took Marty out to some really expensive meals for $24, including drinks, appetizers, everything. So we got there and we told the very same driver who stood us up, don't you think this is karmic? We ended up with him assigned the next day, and he's going, see my paper, I was at the airport, I promise. Which he was asleep, we're pretty sure, in his car. And again, it's Bali, So we tell Marty we want something beautiful, we want something sacred, and we don't want to be gouged, but we'll pay what's fair. And he said, well, first you have to have a cleansing. And we thought, okay, that's kind of cool. And then we'll do the ceremony. And he started throwing out the price for all this stuff, and it was 1.6 million Indian rupiah. 1.6 million. About $340, including catered food for everybody. Are we up and working now, you think? Can you click to the next slide just to see? Because I'll show that. All right, let's go back, because I will catch. I'm good. I just wanted to show you, of course, Chicago O'Hare now has a yoga room, which is absolutely beautiful. Marty and I had a 5-hour layover. The first 2 hours we're done doing yoga. Isn't that cool? This is Marty going through immigration into Indonesia after 30 hours of travel. It's 12:45 in the morning. I'm going to tell you more about that. This is Christoph. What's Christoph's last name? Don't remember. He's originally from Germany, now lives in Toronto. That is just showing you him teaching and what the teaching environment looked like. Hardwood floors, open walls, and rice paddies right outside. And the computer just crashed. Then let's leave it at that. Thank you very much. Let's go back to, because I was just going to show you pictures of the wedding. All right, let's one more time. There we go. That's me teaching. Which actually, this was great preparation. This is getting ready for the cleansing. This is what I want to tell you about. Next slide, please. Okay, leave it there, please. This is the high priestess. She's 27. She was 27 years old when she became a high priestess. She's now 37 years old. She felt called to become a priestess, and she kept saying, no, I don't want to be one. No, I don't want to be one. No, I don't want to be one. She kept telling her family she was having these dreams in which she was a high priestess, and her family kept saying, that means you're supposed to, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she died. And after she died, a priest said that the problem was that her soul didn't get to express what it was. And so the family promised she would be a high priestess. She came back to life. This is the story. She came back to life, and now she has been a priestess for 10 years. And she speaks very good English. She's a really interesting person. She comes out, and for 45 minutes, she chants and she blesses herself. You'll notice she's facing away from us. We were the only tourists there. It was mostly Balinese there for a cleansing of their own. She faces away, and for 45 minutes, now she lives this is in her family compound, and she lives alone. But she comes up and there's this altar, and she douses herself with water and she rings a bell. And at first you think, oh my God, if she doesn't stop ringing that bell, I'm going to go crazy. You know, it's like a dog or a phone ringing. It really is. But what was interesting is you sit with the ringing bell long enough, guess what happens? It disappears. It totally disappears. And she's chanting and she's throwing water and flowers. Next slide. We then actually... another group of people go up, and it's an elderly man, obviously. I don't know what they're doing. But let me contextualize it differently. Think of it as a baptism. Because really, that's all it is. It's a Hindu baptism is what occurred to me. So we go up there, but while she is chanting, we are instructed to think of what it is we want to leave behind, what we don't want to bring into our marriage. And Marty and I have always said we want our marriage sacred. That's been the number one thing. We have certain characteristics we want in our marriage, and we want it sacred. And so we thought about the things. I thought about all the abuse and the pain that was inflicted on me by my father, especially, and my parents. And Marty thought about her things, whatever it was, that brought up issues in previous relationships, in previous marriages. So then they invite us up, and she starts chanting and just dribbling water on her heads. And my eyes were closed. They were supposed to be closed. And all I was thinking was, I know Marty hears me crying. And about that time, I heard Marty crying. And I couldn't stop. Now, again, to be fair, my great-great-aunt's a Pentecostal minister, and she'll lay hands on you and have you crying in the aisles too. There's value in every sort of experience of a religious or spiritual nature. This one was transformational. I left something there that day. And I'm sure it was probably because I had an intention to, I don't know. But I did. And it's been really amazing. It's amazing. And so did Marty. We've talked a lot about it. This has been really great. What I love about it, and it might be a good model for relationships, is that we need to cleanse from the old ones before we go into the new ones. We treat relationships like dogs. Your dog died, get another one. You'll forget about it. Instead of realizing that we are the aggregate of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So the person we spend the most time with ought to be a gem, ought to be somebody we admire. And we ought to be admirable to deserve somebody like that. It's the only way. So this was the first part of our day. And Marty hates this picture because her mascara is running. But I said, honey, that lets people know how real you are, and they connect with you in that. Let's go on to the wedding. We then got in the car, we ran by this beautiful restaurant, and they took us, we ate quickly. We ate the same thing, which was gado-gado, which is a vegan Bali meat food that's really good. Anyway, they took us, and this is our driver's. Marti is his name. Her name is Ilu, that's his wife. She is dressing Marty in the sarong she wore when she got married. Isn't that sweet? Yes. And all this was included for like $300. It was just, his wife came up, brought the clothes. They couldn't, this is what I wore. They couldn't find anything to fit me because I'm too big. In the United States, I'm a medium. You can look, it says double extra large. We had to stop on the side of the road to buy this and the hat. Next slide, please. There's me with my hat looking at Marti. She is wearing so many layers. And what did I say the temperature was? About 90 degrees. Humidity is over 7. I'm from South Carolina. This made South Carolina look like a day at the beach. Next, please. Then she is wearing a sarong. She is wearing a yellow thing on top of it, a dress, on top of another dress. On top of, there's a girdle underneath that, but it's not to hold her in. It's more ceremonial. Now a purple sash. Next. And me with my hat, Marti putting my hat on. So let's go through a little bit of the wedding if we can. What I thought was amazing, they built an altar. Now the altar was very much like a puja. We kept adding wood to the fire. My job was, I had a very long ladle, skinny ladle made out of copper with ghee, which is liquefied butter in a can. And they would chant, and Marti knew the chants, which blew them away. They're sitting here with these Caucasian people, and all of a sudden Marti is doing the Gayatri mantra, leading this 2 priests. So we're putting it on there. We both get lays. That's cool. And my job is every time we say swaha to put liquefied butter on the fire. So go ahead. As you can see, and that's the priest right there. And the interesting is the other priest, which we thought was awesome, is his wife. And she kept correcting him on how to do it. Now, is that not the perfect marriage? As us watching this, it's like the scales are off our eyes. We see what the next rest of our lives is going to be. And they spoke very little English, so Marti is leaning over and whispering to us. Go ahead to the next one, please. Here we are offering things. We threw rice, we threw popcorn, we threw all kinds of stuff. And next one, please. Here's see the fire? And you know what? This is how humid it was. I was grateful because the heat of the fire blew some of the humidity away. Because I was and Marti sweated through so that the purple on the outside went all the way through 3 layers to the white on the inside. Next one. But it was beautiful. Look at this ritual. Look at this ritual. They put a stone down and Marti pushes it with her foot. I think there's another image of that. Nope, that's all right. But she pushes it with her foot, and that's to symbolize that when we have difficulties ahead, we'll be strong. So this is where I begin to hopefully make my point. I then put on jewelry. Hold on right there on that one. There's a string that is tied to my right wrist. There's a string that's tied to Marti's left wrist so that we're side by side. We both know that this is going to go away, but we also know that it symbolizes that we're not going to go away. That we're here. While we were there, I thought we were going to do cat's cradles. They both gave us pieces of string about this long, and I'm starting to, no, I'm supposed to like tie it over my arm, and she puts it over her shoulder. Again, symbolism, you're one. This is sacred. Symbolism, you're one. This is sacred. To me, what was most interesting, and the little bit of money I paid also included jewelry for Marti, which she got to keep, and I didn't know that. But that's part of the symbolism. The groom must put jewelry on the bride, and I didn't know that, so they went out and got it for me. How sweet is this? Next one, please. All right, this is what I want to tell you. You see us walking around the fire? We're tied together, if you can't tell, wearing red and white. We're tied together. We go around the fire 3 times. I lead Marti, and then she leads us back the other way. And at that point, we're married. The ceremony goes on for another 45 minutes. But we're married. Now, I like to think I do beautiful weddings. I think there may be some people here I've married. I don't do them anymore. I let Star do it because Star does them even more beautiful than I do. And yet, I think that we've lost something in these 20-minute, isn't the bride beautiful and aren't the groomsmen pointed in the right way? We laughed more during this wedding because I couldn't pronounce stuff. And it's sometimes, literally at one point I went, ram-a-lam-a-ding-dong, because that was as close as I was going to get. But we were all just laughing and having so much fun. In our relationships, we're missing, it's called holy matrimony. It's called sacred. I looked up the word. Sacred means revered due to sanctity, is in the general state of being holy, perceived by religious individuals as associated with divinity. Bottom line is holy means whole, complete, and lacking nothing. Anything that is holy is whole. It literally comes from the Germanic Old English meaning whole, from the German Herren meaning whole, complete. It's the opposite of cursed. That's the antonym. We want something as a marriage that's whole and complete. And we have so far to go. But that's our intention. We already feel what we have is beautiful, but we'll spend the rest of our lives learning from each other. But we've got to know that it's built on a holy, a sacred foundation. The thing that Marti said she loved most about Bali, I want to show you real quick. Go to the next slide. Let's click through these. Again, Marti is, no, go back, please. I'll let you know. Marti is doing what? She's coming through immigration. Raise your hand if you've ever come into immigration into this country. Turn to a person who didn't raise their hand and give them the face you usually get. Just like that. Do you know what that is? That is an offering to the gods that was placed there by the immigration officer who got there when she came to work. It's a little bit of saffron, some marigolds, and some incense. Everybody does that when they start work. The taxis you get into, they put an offering on their dashboard. Bali is famous because of the song Bali High in South Pacific. Why? Because it seemed so sacred. It's also famous because Elizabeth Gilbert went there and Eat, Pray, Love and talked about how sacred the place is. The place isn't sacred, friends. The people bring it with them to work everywhere they go. Next slide. This restaurant we didn't eat at. The food looked great, but the menu on the outside was intentionally too provocatively sexually making poor puns. I think they were trying to get in party people into that. But this woman is placing an offering at the beginning of her shift as a sacred act to the gods. Next slide, please. I find this fascinating. On the left, you will see how often the use of the word holy has appeared in our language since the 1800s going forward to modern day. Does it seem like it has declined? Have we not simultaneously become more religious, yes or no? During that time, haven't people become more religious? Haven't they drawn more boundaries? Haven't they said, you're in my camp or you're against me? Haven't they become more religious? We've become more religious and less sacred and less holy. I would like to ask you all to be my accountability partners, and I mean this sincerely. Whenever you greet me, remind me to do this, even if it's only here, even if it's only on a Sunday. I'm not asking at Sam's, but I'm working up to that. Because I want to begin to have and to see and to feel that sacred. Go to another slide for me. Every day, all of the statues get fresh handmade leis everywhere in the city. Next one, please. That is several rice fields. You see the little thing that looks like like a sterno would go in there to keep the place warm? What is that? That's an altar where every day a sacred offering is placed by the owner of the field. You can tell by how many of those offering places how many fields the farmer owns. Where we would have a statue of someone who was in battle, this is Arjuna from the Bhagavad Gita, this next statue. Go to that, please. Next image, please. This is Hanuman, the monkey who jumped over the Himalayas to rescue the goddess. Don't you think it's interesting? Next one. That is a bird bath that somebody made into like a little Buddhist mandala, and which will be destroyed at the end of the day. But they put the sacred and the beauty in. Next one. So I'm going to leave it at this one and just ask you, where is the sacred in your life? Where is the holy? Where is the whole? Where is the complete? Is it your car? Is it your bedroom? Do you have an altar in your home that you sit there? Did you put something really cool together to impress people when they come over? Or do you actually sit there? Do you sit outside and say, oh, nature is my sanctuary, but you never take time to be still and pray in your sanctuary? We bring the sacred with us. We got enough religious. Let's bring the sacred. Let's pray. God, prayer is acknowledging your presence, which is being spiritual. We are immersed in, surrounded by, and infused with the energy of God in this moment. And we remember that so is our ATM, because that's where they put offerings too. So is the rental car place. And at every workstation, at the nail salon. People who, each and every one of them, remind themselves of the energy of the divine that is flowing through their business, their family, and their body. And as a result, they are prosperous, they are healthy, they are happy. Thank you, God, that we bring the sacred. And so it is.